What's up and welcome back. I'm John Stark from MacMovieGuy.com, your favorite blind film critic, and this is Sasquatch Sunset. This is currently available with audio description by Deluxe, narrated by William Michael Redman, and it's directed by the Zellner brothers and stars Jesse Eisenberg and Riley Keogh. And one of the Zellner brothers, none of this really matters because they're all wearing heavy prosthetics, but I guess it's worth mentioning because they're having to act. This feels like the greatest improv exercise ever. Just pretend to be Sasquatches for the duration of a film. So I don't really know what else to say. I'll just start with the audio description in this film instead of talking about my feelings about the film. I think the audio description is terrific because the film is audio description. Like, the whole film is audio description. Like, there's no dialogue. There's no secret Sasquatch language that they've come up with, you know. There isn't, they don't run into a whole bunch of humans who just start interacting with them and just fill the void with dialogue. Nothing like that happens. So it's basically a silent film, and it's all like reactions and grunting noises, and it gets kind of old fast. Like, it's an interesting exploration, and that's why I was intrigued by it. But luckily this has audio description because like, if I was a congressman, I'd pass a law saying Sasquatch Sunset. Films like this should have to, like, if you've got nothing going on, like, how the fuck is anybody who's blind supposed to watch this? You know, I mean, just this, whatever service this goes to, I don't care if it goes to Crackle. Crackle needs to figure out a way how to put audio description on their service. I'm basically listening to audio description the whole time, along with some grunting and, you know, like sound effects, stepping on twigs. I don't even know that there's a prolific score here to talk about. Like, I just think it's weird. I think they wanted to do like a nature documentary, but it's not really shot like a nature documentary in the way where we would get like a narrator. You know, like nature documentaries typically always have that like voice that always explains what something is doing, and this doesn't really have that. This is just like somebody has some footage of was following Sasquatches around, and there is kind of a score, so it's the weirdest indie film of the year. I'm saying that because I haven't seen Hundreds of Beavers because it doesn't have audio description, but I would maybe debatably those two films can go at it. They have to describe the looks of the Sasquatches so you understand sort of what they look like and their structure and their facial hair. The shape of their face is described really well. Erections are described. Breasts are the female, the only female in the entire clan of Sasquatches, breastfeeds her children, and there's that is detailed, very lengthy scene by audio description. I don't know, there's a sex scene that's, again, I like the fact that we went with pounding because I feel like for some reason 90% of writers of audio description choose thrusting, and I'm just tired of hearing the word thrusting. Like, I'm not a prude when it comes to sex, but when I hear the same word used to describe every single sex scene, and here they found pounding, and I was like, oh, well, there you go. There's another word we found to describe what's happening here. This is a very odd film. I don't even know how to grade it. because part of me knew I wasn't gonna like it going in. Like, part of me was like, ah, well, maybe I'll like, I'd heard it was weird. I'd heard it was odd. I heard that the film tonally has issues where it's like it has some serious moments and also goes for sort of this like gross out humor or in your face sort of animalistic sex scenes. It does everything that you would expect like an animal documentary to do, but it's just with Sasquatches, which we know are just humans in substantial makeup. So it's weird. We cover the sex. They have sex. We cover. I've covered the fact that there's breastfeeding in this. There's, don't worry, they'll take a shit and pee and I don't know, get angry at things and smash things, and there's some violence and nothing like too terribly like radically like oh my god violence, but there's violence. It just seems to run the gamut of everything, and it really actually does have a tonal problem because sometimes it feels like that they're holding on something or they're showing you something for humor wise, and then there are other scenes where they're like, oh well, now we want you to feel the dramatic weight of what it is that we're doing. And it's like, you guys gotta pick a lane, man. You guys are either gonna be slapstick comedy or you're gonna be a serious look at Sasquatches. Because that's the thing, again, about what you're trying to do here. And one of the things I missed about Late Night with the Devil was I felt like it inconsistently committed to its premise. Like, with that, it felt like that couldn't possibly all just be... I felt like it abandoned the documentary look at the, this is the footage that was found. Was it? Because it feels like at a certain point we're abandoning that part of it. Here it feels like, is this really a documentary? Is this really what we're going for? Because there seems to be like certain parts where you're going for humor, you're going for gags, you're going for jokes, and then other parts where you're going for like a more serious moment. There's a moment with a log, I should say, that if anybody's like, there was a serious moment in here, I would say maybe the log moment is more serious, because it also calls back later on when they find the bear traps, and Riley Keough's Sasquatch has to start making a correlation. They have jokes that are callback jokes where they just keep making them, like the Sasquatch that keeps trying to count but can't count. Like, conceptually, it's like really trying hard, and then they get down to like where it should just be like 4, like they should be able to count to 4, but he can't count to 4. So like he's having a hard time because he keeps just using one finger. So like there's a gag, they throw gags in here intentionally, but then they also throw this other stuff in here. So the tonal shifts bother me. I was bored within the first 30 minutes. This would have worked as a really interesting short. Like if this had been done and just popped up on Netflix as like a competition for live action short, I think it probably would win. But if it could get its tone down, I think the oddity of it and everything and would have caught so much attention. And with the names involved in it, I think you probably would have gotten yourself an Oscar nomination. But at feature length, it's just like, it's exhausting. I thank God the movie isn't that long, and it ended pretty quickly. It ends kind of abruptly too. Like they get to the point and they're like, see where we are? Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Movie's over. Da 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 da. And I was like, I don't know what you're trying to say as a filmmaker. It was such a specific ending, but it at the same time I was like, but it could have gone anywhere. So you ended, and like it just got interesting, but then it's like you ended before you just kind of like explained why, like why you chose this. It's such a weird movie. I don't. There's nothing else I can say to this except the fact that the audio description track by Deluxe William Michael Redman is on fleek. Nobody uses that anymore. Straight fire. Probably one of the best of the year. It's probably going to be on my list of one of the best. I usually end up putting films on my that I didn't like, but then the audio description track was phenomenal. And this kind of falls like last year we had Silent Night, which wasn't great, but it had the film relied heavily on audio description. It was like this film lives or dies based on audio description. And Sasquatch Sunset does that too. For a blind community, walk out. Like, don't even try. There's nothing here for you. There really, truly is nothing here for you. I sit through a lot of shit, and that doesn't have audio description, so I can talk about it. And I can say that this unequivocally is 100% unwatchable without audio description. There's nothing here for you. There's no secret dialogue. There's no language. There's no narrator that comes in. It would be like absolutely impossible. Skinamarink actually had like 13 words of dialogue, and that was, impossible to follow without audio description. This would be a nightmare. So if it ends up anywhere on any streaming service, just don't watch it. Don't even try. Yeah, I don't even think this is that great. Although part of me knew that. Part of me knew it wasn't going to be, and that's the problem I'm having with actually grading it. Is it's like I knew this wasn't going to be an A. I knew that this was going to be like an experimental thing where we sit down and we talk about like the merits of like making a film like this, and sitting here and being like, oh well, it's artsy, and nobody else would have dared to make a film like this, and wow, isn't that cool that somebody tried to do something that is completely different and unlike anything else? Because that's true. This is completely different, and except for the fact that they didn't know that there was a random group of independent filmmakers making something called Hundreds of Beavers. There's basically nothing like this out there in the world. So I think it's interesting. I'm sure that's why Jesse Eisenberg and Riley Keogh were attracted to the project. So I don't want to go too hard on it because there are merits here, but I also don't want to give it a thumbs up. So I'm going to give it a C minus, like a really light thumbs down, because I just didn't like it. It overstayed its welcome. It tonally has problems. It can't decide if it wants to be, Dumb and Dumber or, something serious. It's just like it has a really hard time with figuring out what kind of a film it wants to be. Like a meditation on life, a nature documentary, or just slapstick humor, like bro comedy. It's very odd. Anyway, that's that. That's Sasquatch Sunset. Kudos to the filmmakers, though. I think I would still, anytime this wants to show up for certain awards, I would, originality. I don't know what a screenplay for like this would look like, but part of me wants to give them some sort of an award for bold decisions in filmmaking. Thanks for swinging for the fences. It didn't work, but thanks. Because so many times nowadays we don't get that anymore. We don't get swinging for the fences. We get, well, this is slightly different because of this. And then we just accept that as being original and move on with our lives. So, anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. And I will see you guys on the other side.